What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that partnership, collaboration, whatever you want to call it, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we are broadcasting live on May 24 I'm here in Toronto. The two stars of the show, they're in different parts of the world. And it's Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa, where these two wonderful ladies, and it's interesting. I was listening to something earlier on this week that this black gentleman saying we shouldn't call our ladies queens. And it was a very interesting perspective, I guess. I'm just going to call these two wonderful African-American ladies, give their takes, and they try to make sense of the nonsense that's going on in America, politically, socially, and everything in between. So I'm really good and really happy to have, Aisha is with us, but look who has come back. She is back from
I've been in the sound of silence.
Yes, 100%. 100%. LaLa Key is in the house. LaLa,
back, LaLa.
Yeah, we missed
I'm glad
you.
to be back. I was having withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, she's going. We were communicating on Discord. I haven't been on it so long. I'm going withdrawal.
No show, none. I mean, I do a couple of other shows too, but I haven't been on any at all. And I have to give a shout out to my husband because it's really good when you have someone who really does care for you, because you can say you feel better, but they know when you're not feeling better. So he has strictly limited me on my talking on anything. And so tonight he made me promise, and I promised him that I would only be on an hour.
Yes. Well, after last week's marathon,
2 hours,
over 2 hours, with Aisha and Dr. Tachi, and they went in, family. So I'm going to tell you something. I would highly suggest you go to the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel and catch out. That was an epic conversation. And the wonderful thing is both of them, I brought up topics in real time and they went in on them. They went in on, actually was speaking with a good friend yesterday and talking about how Aisha and Dr. Tachi were talking about the whole ChatGPT thing and higher education. And that, especially when Dr. Tachi said one of her former students took some of the manuscript from one of her past papers.
That was mine.
That was you. Okay, it was you. One of your past papers, and use it as something to hand in to you.
The entire paper.
Just
retyped it and changed the name. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's actually yesterday, another one of the shows I host called The Morning Vibe. Yes, that's called The Morning Vibe. Had a gentleman on. He was actually talking about the whole Shadur Sanders situation, which is still very prevalent and its impact Blackwise, etc. But he owns his own software company, and has just created, and it's in beta phase, a better model that he's saying than ChatGPT. And yes, and so he said, yeah, we've asked some companies to test it. So Dr. Vibe, if he has an opportunity. So I asked, hey, can I get in on this beta testing? He said, absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting it, and maybe I can access it a little bit to LaLa and Aisha to see what it comes out with.
Well, yeah, because one of the things I find with the ChatGPT is that there are certain things that are within our culture that we say, and we understand it to mean a certain thing. But because ChatGPT doesn't have that
learning model,
the learning model. Well, they have a learning model, but the thing is that the people training the model don't have that cultural competency. So it's something that is being missed. So, for example, we might give a prompt a certain way because we speak a certain way and we think a certain way. And culturally, this is how it's said. But ChatGPT does, like, for example, if you try to get it to differentiate, and you're talking about within our culture, we talk about light-skinned Black people, brown skin, dark skin. We know what all those gradations mean. ChatGPT doesn't.
Right.
When you put something like that in, it will pop out like what, like it, like literally ask me, what do you mean? And I realized, and I had to say, white people don't come. I mean, literally have to prompt it that way because white people don't come. They don't differentiate between what's light skin and dark skin to them. There's, peachy, creamy, milk, those kind of descriptors, but not things that we differentiate by.
It's really interesting. I've had to learn a lot of that, especially with a lot of the AI stuff that I'm doing, and how to be descriptive about our skin tones, our everything, our hair, we have to go pretty deep. AI is not, people think that it's an instant thing. It's not. It is very biased toward white people, period. It bases itself on Caucasian, period.
Well, that's who's.
And it's like, it doesn't, like, for example, if you tell it that you want like, for example, you want to create a picture of different shades of Black people, it gives you Black people all the same shade. They might just have different hairdos and things like that. And it's like, okay, this is not, because its model of what is Black is just one color.
100%. No, I'm delving more and more into it. I'm really excited for this gentleman to let me beta test his platform, and he said it's very conversational, conversational, and so I'm looking to put in a number of different things and see what comes out of it. Because, hey, first of all, I want to support Black business, which is most of what, and I don't know too many AI platforms that are Black.
That's great for tech. Yeah. We really need to support our people.
100% in that. But I'm using it a little bit more, but there's still, you can't beat the human touch. And so I'll give a perfect example. I did go into ChatGPT and ask, the Dr. Vibe show, give me suggestions SEOs wise for my platform. And it gave a long, big document. And one of the suggestions it made was, Dr. Vibe should be doing more shows, just him coming on and just giving his thoughts and opinions on various things.
You should.
Okay. All right. Well, actually, there's one or two other people that have been pushing my buttons to do that. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. But I said, I need a logo. And one of the interns I work with, she's absolutely fantastic. I did go into AI and say, hey, what would the theme, give a description of the show? It gave me a great description. Then I contacted her, and in real time, she came up with a perfect logo.
Wow. See? That's wonderful. Everything is lining up.
Right. So I did my first episode earlier this week with Dr. Tachi, by the way. And it's called Hanging with Dr. Vibe.
I love it. I love it.
So that means now I'm going to maybe pull you just periodically once, and we just come and hang out and chat about various things, non-political preferably, but just things going on.
I'm ready because I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, and also I'm doing it on a different live streaming platform. I said, so for people out there, I'm using EV Mux to do it because I wanted to get a better understanding of EV Mux. And EV Mux, there's a lot of wonderful things I'm able to do on this. And the goal is to eventually put it over to here for Primetime. But one of the nice things it can show you, there's a clock that shows you the date and time in real time, Eastern time. Also, you can put a QR code on the screen. And if someone wants to say, hey, if you want to find out, they can go click on the or take a picture of the QR code, and it takes them right to my YouTube page.
Nice.
So on Discord family, I'm going to reach out to these. They say, you got time to do a hanging with Dr. Vibe this week? We just hang out and just chat. And it worked out well. And actually, Dr. Tachi was my first guest. And then by surprise, I reached out to the lady who did the logo and brought her on. She goes, I'm a box person. But she said, no, I'm glad brought on. But that's where the human touch, she just hit it perfectly. Mm-hmm. I did go on AI to find out what are the right brand colors for the show. And so for different context shows, now she's going to be doing different logos depending on the theme of the show. But she is going to be because AI we don't have that relationship. You're just giving me that automatic. I need that human touch and alignment. So get ready. I'm going to be seeing over the next week. If you want to do a hang with Dr. Vibe, we just kick it back and we make things happen. Yeah. Anything else going on before we go to break? Anything else going on in your worlds?
Ain't done a thing.
We're ready to get started. So Lala can rest.
Yes. All right. What we're gonna do is we are gonna go to break, and in 30 seconds, we won't be doing a 2-hour show today. Sorry to let you down. Maybe next week, but we're only gonna hit 2 conversation topics for today. So we'll be right back in 30 seconds. Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community.
The doctor, Professor Chevy X.
Because people always say indigenous people don't exist in the Caribbean. I was speaking to my indigenous friend from the Caribbean like 3-4 hours ago. I think it'll be very interesting to see, how things unfold in Canada. And I think the way we need to combat that is through collective struggle.
Master.
We got a master class tonight. All right. That is Black Men Can Talk. Sunday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, where a bunch of us Black Canadian men just hang out and give thoughts and interview people or have conversations with people from a Black Canadian view. All right, let's do some housework first. Girlfriends Chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones. I'm still waiting for the day that Jill Jones comes back, even for one episode.
We had a real fun conversation this week.
Oh,
we didn't really even talk about a lot of politics. It really was a girlfriend chat. It was really fun.
Good. Well, that's where you can older episodes on Patreon, newer episodes on Substack, then Primetime Saturday Show Store. There's the link there. The Discord group is there. You can email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow, or click on the link in Discord and subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button, and also like on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. By the way, people, whoever is going by, the YouTube shorts are still going crazy. It seems that almost every second or third YouTube short I post from these conversations are getting over 1,000 views, which is good for us. And then to advertise your business product or service, email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And can't forget Indie Soup Media. There it is. Independent content creators platform. I say probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be hitting 30,000 YouTube subscribers. Run by Dr. Tachi, who, again, last week she was on. Her and Aisha, some people messaging going, what was that? I go, you didn't know? You didn't know what you were dealing with? Come on now. And then we got some comments before we get started. Someone named Lala says, send stars to show your support. I said,
live on my Facebook page.
There you go. And this is, just for people who do streaming live on Facebook, do realize now that after 30 days, your live stream episodes are taken down now. It doesn't stay on there forever. Just a heads up. Aisha says, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Number one fan, Jen Myers in the house. Jen Myers in the house. Enlightened Being says, hey, family. And then Enlightened Beings go, Lala, you smiling down, girl. Looking awesome.
I am. I've lost about 15, 16 pounds.
Wow. And Lala says, thanks for joining us, everyone. All right, let's get into one of our two conversation topics. U.S. House Republicans pass big, beautiful bill after weeks of division.
Ain't nothing beautiful about it.
Big BS bill.
She said BS. I'm gonna say it like it is. It's bullshit. It's awful.
Lala's back.
Yeah,
Lala's back.
I mean, we talked about this a bit last week about the challenges with it, but here it is. I mean, they passed it, and they passed it because they made it go further than it should. Like, the thing that for me is the part that I really want people to take from this is these cuts. The $800 million from Medicaid and the $300 million from SNAP are just the tip of the iceberg. There's a provision in here that they don't mention that when their tax cuts to the wealthy make the deficit go to a certain point, it will trigger a $500 million cut to Social Security and Medicare,
which is our money,
right? Which they're using.
That's not their money. That's our money.
Our money for our later years, healthcare, and just our overall living expenses is being taken to pay for things so that rich people do not have to pay basic income taxes. Period.
Okay. I'm just going to show we have an article here if you're watching live on the replay. A look at the key items in 47's big, beautiful bill. No tax on Social Security, more Medicaid requirements. So one of the changes are the new work requirements for childless adults without disabilities. To qualify, the bill says they would require to work at least 80 hours per month beginning December 2026. Another change of program was requiring re-enrollment to shift from once per year to once every 6 months. Enrollees will have to provide additional income and residential verifications, increase on cap on SALT tax, SNAP benefits. New bill requires states to contribute more to the program, which is also partially funded by the federal government. No tax on overtime tips or other elements. Were there ever taxes on them anyways? And then what happens next? The Senate must approve. And 47 is urging the Senate to get on board. It's the quote, "It's time for our friends in the United States Senate to get to work and send this bill to my desk in capitals as soon as possible," unquote.
Well, the challenge that he has with the Senate is that, remember, Senate positions are statewide. So they're not just, it's not just the people in their little red district. The whole state votes for that person. And if you cut Medicaid and you cut SNAP, particularly in these red places, these people are going to get upset. But here's the thing that I really want people to pay very close attention to. These cuts are scheduled to go into effect December 2026, after the midterms, because they want Democrats to have to own this going into 2028 so that they can blame Democrats and say, see, we need to get back control of the House. We need to get back control of the Senate. We need to get back control of the White House. This is what that reason for having that provision is, because here's the thing, that was the only way that they could get those Republicans that were saying, no, I can't do this in my district, to say yes, to tell them that you will not pay a political price if you do this. They've basically conceded that they're going to lose the House on the backs of these tariffs come 2026. They will not
is announced more this
2028.
Okay, just two more quick comments. Enlightened Being says it's basically the road of dictatorship and straight out of Project 2025, and also says, love your shirt, Aisha. Fisk.
Yeah. This is a Fisk alumni sweatshirt.
Fisk. I'm not hearing a lot of media or even Democrat politicians talk about how this isn't going to be going into place till after the midterms.
I think that needs to be the important part that they say when they say they're cutting this, they're doing this, they're doing this. People are going to be expecting those results as soon as he signs it into law. And what they need to know is that not only does it go into effect in 2026, it's a 10-year bill. And those tax cuts are not going to expire. Because remember, they said they wanted to make them permanent. The tax cuts will not expire. And everything else in that bill, the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to SNAP, that trigger point, which they say will happen because this brings us an additional $1 trillion into debt.
Yes.
That those cuts to Social Security and Medicare that will last for 10 years. 10 is when they will come up again. Just like that first round of Trump tax cuts. What happened with it? Why do they want to do it now? Because it expired in December of this year.
But if you're in the Democrat Party, should you not be hammering down at these things? What you said at the beginning, how they're not going to be going into place till after the midterms, because people may not think that. You know that people are going to know about that.
But here's the thing:
we have too many cooks in the we have too many cooks.
That's Aisha now.
They are not working with a comms team that has a person that says, "I craft the message. I give you the talking points. You do the talking points, and you do them in the order that I'm telling you. This is how you win." Instead, what they all have is what they know to be true in the meetings and the vote, but they're not telling the people the pieces that aren't being told. So, for example, this $800 million cut to Medicaid, right? The Democrats are going in saying that, but they're not telling what does that look like for people. And so people need to know this is when it takes place. This is who will be affected. And this is the opportunity for your state to your state will have to put in more. But if you have a state that refuses that to do that expansion piece on their dime, then a lot of people are out of luck. This is when you tell people that, you know, who gets affected most first are a lot of young people. Why? A lot of people are gig employees. Gig employees get Medicaid because guess what? A gig job does not have health insurance. It doesn't offer it. Like you are an Uber driver, they don't have a health care plan. Uber doesn't even want them to unionize. So then they have their contract employees, at will contract employees. So they can qualify for something like a Medicaid, for a state Medicaid through the state exchange, because they meet the income requirement, but also they can't get access. And so those people are going to lose. You're going to lose a lot of young people who are in that gap when their parents have to pull them off of their insurance versus when they'll be able to get a job that offers the benefit of healthcare. Those people fall into that. You have older people who might not be what falls along the line of a disability, but they struggle with certain things to be able to work 80 hours a week. And they might have taken like maybe early retirement or something like that. Or remember, there's also ageism with people trying to get a job. Somebody 65 might not be able to get a job in the field that they've worked in all along. And it's like, you know, that's another struggle. So they might need that. So there are a lot of people, a lot of scenarios that get cut out, and Democrats don't put it down in those terms to people. They don't say, look, this is what you're going to lose. This is who can be affected. This is when it happens. For example, this bill also reduces the amount that people can take out in student loans.
Yes.
Which is going to do what? Reduce the number of students enrolling in higher education. Who disproportionately takes out loans? Black college students, brown college students, Black and Latino college students take out the majority of these loans disproportionately. And so you're seeing that, and this is their way of trying to erase us from society. And then the promise then, and when you take away people's opportunities for jobs, the thing is then you're like, oh, we'll have a ready-made manufacturing workforce, but we have no manufacturing jobs from these companies based on these tariffs. So it is a mess. That's why it's like LaLa said, it's a big bullshit bill, because there's nothing beautiful about harming the most vulnerable in our society.
LaLa, please.
That's their point. But that's their whole point. Their whole agenda is to harm, hurt, maim, take away anything that they could possibly do. Now, I've said it on all the other shows. I'll say it again. We've talked about what Project 2025 was. Now we're seeing it being implemented in everyday life as soon as possible, as quick as possible, and as corrupt as possible. Because let's not forget what they did. They let this slam through at like 1 a.m. in the morning. What kind of darkness are you working in? They knew that they could do that in the middle of the night. They also know that they have all the votes. Now, some of the Republicans are coming out who are not MAGA and saying this is horrible. But look how close this vote was. And then you have people like Fetterman, who came out and said, we deserve this because we didn't. Excuse me? We deserve nothing. We deserve you to do your job. So you do have some Democrats who are wibbly wobbly and just kind of going with the flow. And this is how they're winning. But no telling how many backroom deals were done to get this done. We're not going to know that too many things later. And another thing that people don't know is because there's so many things buried in this bill. Trump is actually trying to rename everything he could possibly rename to put his name on it, so that it will always say it's a Trump thing, it's a Trump this, it's a Trump that. So many, many years down the road, his name will still be repeated, even though it should be like, was it Harry Potter, he who should not be named. But this is detrimental to our country. This is detrimental not only to people like Aisha and I and anybody in the Middle Ages, like 30, 40, 50s. This is the most detrimental to our elderly and to our children and to anyone that is what they quote not acceptable in their sight. So this is a very dangerous thing. Yes, it is full of bullshit, but that's what they stand on. At this point, I just don't know what we do.
Yeah. One of the things about this bill too that is bothersome is that they threw in a lot of I want to call them basically procedural things in here. And when I say procedural, I mean things that pertain to certain rights and the law that aren't things that you just think about money being spent, but they put these overarching things here, like with regards to colleges and universities, with regard to like the Department of Education, for example. There's something in there that they put in the Department of Education, and you're kind of like, well, why? Because that has nothing to do with money, but it has to do with funding to that actual department, that actual entity to stay open. And that's going to be a little iffy, because where's all this money going that's going to be allocated for the Department of Education? If you guys, if you're trying to cut costs, why would you allocate money to something that you're saying is going to close, right? But a judge just said that they can't do that. So I'm going to wonder
how that's going.
Right, and the judges are telling them that there are these agencies that they want to close, that they cannot close, and that they have to rehire everybody. But I'm wondering how they're going to use the money now that have been allocated to those agencies to do things that the agencies were designed to do, but that the bill says that they can't. That's going to be an interesting part. Like, for example, with the Department of Education, they said that they can't put they can't make any other policies in the bill.
Just some comments we have. Enlightened Beings goes, it's too many things going on at one time and just are not organized like they like probably say they should be the Democrats. They're saying, and also Joshua goes, Dr. Vibe, do you have any room for us in Canada? We got a big, huge country in Canada. We need people to fill it up.
Yeah.
We need people to fill it up. And also want to shout out someone who's liked the conversation. Shantae Earl has given a thumbs up in regards to the conversation, which is wonderful. Ladies, what do you feel that this bill will pass as is in the Senate?
Well, I believe it.
Yeah.
I have no reason to not believe that it will. I think that all of the Republicans in there believe that there is something that they can live with. There's one who says that he's a no, period, regardless. He does not care. He said he's a solid no, not for the fact that the cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and all the others now. For him, it is the $3 trillion additional dollars in debt that this puts the country.
Well, and aligned with this, I think it was earlier on this past week or the week before, Moody's downgraded the U.S. credit rating.
Yes.
Yeah, now across all of them where we have been downgraded.
And then I think, LaLa, you mentioned earlier, 45's on the rampage with his tariffs again.
Yeah.
Yes, he's now trying to do 35% on all of the EU.
Well, not just that. Remember, he told Tim Apple.
Of course, he started at 35, but now I guess he's up to 50.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he told Tim at the CEO of Apple to that he's going to put a tariff on Apple. He's going to put, and he also said the same thing to Samsung. So on one hand, you can't say that these other countries pay the bill, and then you're saying that that this person here, who's a citizen here, who's not the business, is going to have to pay the tariff. So he's doing that part too. But the thing, to Enlightened Being's point, that there's too many things going on at one time, and they're not organized like they should be as far as the Dems are concerned. This is what in psychology they call transference of negative energy. The real chaos is in the White House. The real chaos is in this administration. It's in the Republican Party right now. But because they are going along with the get along, and everybody's trying to normalize this, act like, oh, this is not something that there's nothing to see here, people. This is just us doing the business of government. That that negative energy that would come with the chaos that they're creating, Democrats they're putting it out there, and Democrats are the ones absorbing that energy. And so they're the ones who are appearing to be in total chaos with their messaging and everything, when really at this time they shouldn't be. And they need that person, that communications person who's not so far deep in doing this, to come in and be like, no, this is what we do to shape up.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be, the midterms are going to be very interesting. They're going to, next year's midterms.
I have volunteered on more than one occasion to be that person.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see, because I think there are a lot of also, and we'll never know until we see. But honestly, there are a lot of people who voted for him that are completely flipping. And a lot of them are the farmers who are losing their farms, losing the immigrants who come to work those farms. The ones who we always say, fuck around, find out, they're finding out. But you know what? They're dragging us through it when we told them from the very beginning. So it's going to be very interesting when we see that how that's going to pan out. And then also, if Musk is still going to continue to put his hand in the pot, because we all know we know what he's doing. That's the only reason Trump won in the first place. And yes, I said it, and I'm not going to take it back. Aisha and I both told y'all when we were on live that this is not right. This is not how they do things. And people just thought we were crazy. And I was like, how are they announcing these things so fast? So there's a lot of elements that we are going to see that we've not seen before, just like the major election. And key people are coming out of key roles. Mitch McConnell, a couple of other ones are coming out of there. It's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen with them gone.
Just before we move into our other conversation topic of today, while we've been conversing about this for a while, there is a mindset, especially among many Black Americans, they're just going to sit this out and let people, hey, you voted for them, you got to deal with this. I've also heard the other side of the fence saying, you know what, don't sit out, because if we don't put a resistance, they're coming after us either or. We should be putting up resistance now before it's too late. What are your
I agree.
what are your
I totally agree. We are not doing enough. We're not. And I don't know how that changes, because here's the thing. And this is the thing that Aisha and Jill and I talk about all the time, because it's true. At this point, we shouldn't be announcing what we're doing at all, because it needs to be stealth. How do you organize in silence and know that you're not going to be infiltrated? That's one thing. For two, how do you do that and set up the meetings that you need to do and secret places where you won't, where you won't be threatened when you go to these meetings or whatever. So it's very hard for me to see how that's done, but I'm way down on board. But I'll be the first one to tell you, I ain't telling you what I'm doing.
Yeah,
because too left.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we said was that we probably have to, our participation in this and how we fight is going to have to look different than in the past, especially after the DOJ got rid of all those cases of police brutality. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now we know that we can't just sit, but how we move has to be different. And I agree with LaLa, it does have to be stealth. But I think that the way that we've been looking to organize and to do things by working in our own communities is the way to go, because that communication doesn't have to happen on social media. It doesn't have to happen publicly. It can happen in your phone. It can happen on a landline phone. It can happen passing a note back to someone. So it's going to have to be things like that. The organization tactics, while the protest tactics and the expectation that the protest methods of the 60s will suit us in the 21st century might not be right. But the how they organized people might be right for this moment, because they organize people analog style, okay, not digital. Digital always leaves a footprint, and when Elon Musk has access to everybody's digital footprint, it might be best to use those old school organization tactics, those analog tactics.
It's a done deal with him. All of our stuff is out there. And let me tell you who to follow. And I put this in our Discord, and I want anyone who is watching who hasn't joined our Discord, you really and truly need to, because we put some really important things in there. And one of the best resistant places that I absolutely love how they're doing this is the Alt National Park Service. They, are people within the National Park Service that are working stealth. They have a lot of people that know how to put things together where they're not being found. It's a volunteer thing, but they're still keeping us all informed on what's going on. They're telling us when Musk is coming in and giving them lie detector tests. They're telling us that's happening.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's happening. It's happening.
Wow.
And they are reporting this to us. So if you want a resource that is stealth, but at least keeping you updated, because the thing is, they're just as smart as Musk when it comes to who's posting, who's this and that. And let me tell you this part, because some people do not realize in this bill, they are also going to make it so your VPNs are no longer private. They're going to find out who you are.
Wow.
Yeah, and the best way that you can combat that is by trying to change your algorithm.
Hmm.
And here's the thing about that. Aisha just said that, and this is really important, because the National Park on Facebook, they do just that. Every once in a while, they'll come on and say something random. It's their own code. You don't even know what it means, but all they ask you to do is say something in the comments. Within 5 minutes, you are talking thousands upon thousands of comments underneath that so that this message can get out. It's like Morse code. So, you have to look for those types of things to get connected with, to find out some of the things that you do not know what is going on. I wouldn't have known not even a itty bitty scratch of what that bill said, because it's pages upon pages, but they broke it down so beautifully. And I did put that in our Discord.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Look who's in the house. Dr. Tachi. Happy Saturday, all. Dr. Tachi. Good to see you. We gave you a break this week after last week, because last week was a marathon. Oh my goodness. All right. Our other conversation topic for today: Joe Biden diagnosed with prostate cancer, public reaction.
I have so many feelings about this, because on one hand, I'm kind of like, everything makes sense now. Things make sense. I don't care. I don't think I even really care about the when of the notification. The things that people are saying, well, then, oh my gosh, if he had to have it this long, and he had to have known, et cetera, et cetera. My brother died from intestinal cancer, and when he learned that he had cancer, it was also when he learned it was terminal. So it doesn't always happen that people know that they have it or they have symptoms. And I've had men in my family who struggled with prostate disease, and they're also over a certain age. And so the main symptom is increased in frequent urination. Well, if you're a man that's over 65, frequent urination kind of comes with the age. As like if you're a woman over 50, frequent urination kind of comes with the age, right? And so, people, and then I've seen people complain like, well, why didn't he get the test? Well, the test isn't recommended for men over 65, men over 70, I believe, because the studies say that they typically die from other things. And so, just how people are fixating this. I wonder if the Democratic Party feel like the leaders of the party feel any kind of, they probably feel a whole lot of guilt in pushing him out. I kind of think that maybe he might have known, and maybe he did stay in the race because he thought he could win. But I don't think that Joe Biden realized it was getting bad would have, you know what I mean? He would have left. And people, I think people just were ready to believe this dementia piece, right? As is it being, he's got dementia, it's this kind of dementia, it's this and this. And, yes, it spreads to his bones. Cancer also, when it spreads to your brain, that's definitely it too, and so we're at this point where he's an old man. We don't know what the prognosis is at this point, but the media, I think, should have let him and his family have kind of a moment with that. But I realized that the timing of this announcement coincides with this book. And it was like, it was probably best to get it out there before the book permeated the psyche of the American populace, and people just couldn't hear the cancer diagnosis over Jake Tapper loudly screaming, it's dementia, it's Alzheimer's, it's this. Yeah.
What's disgusting to me is how people reacted. Like immediately, was he even able to really run the country? Now we have investigations being opened, and now we're not going to make sure that all the pardons that he did are going to get reversed. And like have you heard the idiot in the White House today who spoke at a commencement and sat up there and talked about stuff that didn't matter, where the students just kind of basically had to sit on their hands? He rambles. We always talk about old white men always running this country, but that's the truth. They're old white men, period. And this is what you get. Now, had anybody said anything about Trump, MAGA immediately, oh God, let's make him Pope and whatever. But you know what? This man he's a former president. He served well. And he should have the privacy and the courtesy and the respect, whether you liked him or not, to be able to move along in peace and not to be continually attacked the way that they attack. That is nastiness. It's the worst of the worst. And as I have said before, someone said to me, and I have taken it up as my mantra, even the demons right now are looking down at the bar because it's so low.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they need to give that man the kind of rest they give George W. Bush.
Yeah.
I want to go. I heard some interesting commentary this week. One, well, before we get to that, Dr. Tachi has some comments. He says, media outlets now hold nothing sacred. And she also says, true LaLa, but we are expecting sensible behavior from the insensible.
Yeah. And that's a problem for me, Dr. Tachi. I'm that's no joke. I'm a sensitive person. I'm really working hard right now on a book called The Artist's Way. And I'm really tapping into my life purpose. And it's a 12-week program. And part of that is really digging deep into yourself on why you hold yourself back on your artistry, right? And that is from anything that you've done in your life. What I have come to notice is I am not going to be sorry for being a sensitive person or a caring person. And, people consider that soft. So unfortunately, I'm one of these people who always want to give some kind of hope that someone is going to have some decency. And unfortunately, we don't live in that world anymore. So that's a very hard place for me to live, is to want one thing so bad and to see a totally different thing. I feel like I live in limbo between that, because common decency should be a basic human right. It is not.
But what's the definition of that these days, right?
It isn't.
I don't think people even know the definition of decency anymore. And a lot of that has to do with the erosion of human relationships when all of your relationships are transactional and virtual.
So was this starting to decline before the pandemic or during the pandemic, and we're living with the results of it now?
No, I think it really started with these social media apps and the promotion of the drama between people. They've trained people to react to things without getting full information. They've trained people to react to things in ways that are unkind and inhumane because they drive likes and follows, and they drive popularity or can go viral and things like that. And then they incentivize that viral post or that thing about, getting likes by letting people monetize it. So yeah, it's all I don't think that
it's mostly cowards behind keyboards. Yeah. It doesn't matter. As long as someone feels like they can just come on and be vile and hide behind a keyboard, they will do it. Even on simple things like right now, one thing that is driving me, and this is why I've backed away from a lot of things, is like Beyonce's out concert. Okay. Blue, she's out performing. Good for her. Proud of her. She brought her second daughter out, right? And now everybody's like, what's wrong with the baby? What's wrong with her? So, and it's just an eternal battle. And no one can say, oh, look at that. She's bringing her children along. Yeah. Now everybody got to fight about something. You can't even say, hey, the sky is really blue today. No, bitch, it's purple. It's like you get so tired of that I can't tell you how many times I've gone on and started to go, that's not your fight. Back on out of that. Come on up out of there. This is the world that we live in.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because it's like, even with that thing, it's like people are like, when I saw people's response, like, what's wrong with her? I'm like, first of all, that's a little child. Second of all, there's nothing wrong with it. She just looks like Jay-Z. I mean, that was my whole thing. Was like, I guess you expected her to come out looking like a little cardboard copy of her mother, just shorter and smaller. Like, no, she looks like her father. You could see elements of her mother, but I'm like, she looks like her father. There's nothing there's nothing wrong with her, but they're so used to kids not looking like kids anymore. That's the other part too, that what's wrong with her? She looks like a regular kid.
Yeah.
They're so used to always seeing kids, showbiz kids, so they've always got a glossy lip and a certain
Filters,
attitude, right?
pageants,
Yeah,
everything that, and
sexualized little girls. Yeah,
there you go, right there,
behaving like
right
little
there.
adults, and that's part of the problem. And I think that goes back to, why is the media becoming part of like the social media ecosphere, where people are they're part of the cycle of mean too, because they also feed the algorithm by pushing out content that, oh, we see these people are getting content, this is trending here, oh, we've got to go report on the same exact thing.
But see, we also see that in the background. Let's break this down even a little bit more, because honestly, I don't look at CNN, I don't look at Fox, I don't look at MSNBC. They're compromised. There's no reason whatsoever I would even read any of those outlets.
So then you watch Fox.
I don't watch. I've been there to stop them. That was out the door years ago. So I really do look for places and people that I know that are good reporters, that are honest reporters, and I'm finding them mostly on social media. So you definitely have that, right? But as Aisha was saying, everybody's trying to chase that dollar. Everybody's like in groups. Okay, I'll help you if you help me, because we're trying to monetize on TikTok, blah, blah, blah. So you have to be very careful about what you're typing into search bars when you are really trying to look for truth, because truth is there. It's just buried under all of the algorithm BS. And this is what's driving our world today. This is why shows like us, shows like Dr. Tachi and her network, shows that really come on and discuss the real things in the world are so important. It's so important for us to come on and share the truth of the matter and show people that it's okay to be angry. And we may have some small solutions. We may not have the big answers, but we have small solutions for you. You got to get out of that algorithm and you got to start looking for the truth.
Yeah. And one of the things that I know from my experience, particularly writing news articles, is it does have to do with the SEO Dr. Vibe, in that you get these SEO titles and SEO descriptions. So when you do a search for something, right? It can be something incorrect, right? And the SEO will guide people to creating a title that puts that as a keyword, and then the little description that you puts two keywords. So most people, as they're scrolling, they'll see a title, they'll see a little description, and then they will assume that description is true. What they don't realize is that description, a lot of words are being left out, or the description is designed to be clickbait, so that you go into the article to see that phrasing, that sentence phrased in the article as being something that is true. Because someone could say something like, Kanye West decides he wants to be the Pope, right? And Kanye West said the Pope such hates the Pope, right? And it's just like that, right? And people assume that was the art that Kanye West said he hated the Pope. But what they don't realize is that dots are missing paragraphs, missing sentences. And so it tricks people into thinking this is the information that they're getting. Their head allows them to believe it. And then they go and they spew that misinformation onto other people, because they're actually not clicking into the article, but they feel that one sentence has summed up what the article's about. Exactly. Like, for example, I can give you a perfect example. For example, someone did something with a video that wasn't even a video that was a conspiracy theory video, but an article picked up by some gossipy rag, picked it up and ran with it by saying Sheila E. was testifying in the Diddy trial to say that Prince told her something before he died. And that Prince, in the article, that Prince was right about Diddy, Sheila E. to testify. That was the title. And then in it said, longtime Prince associate Sheila E. Diddy told Sheila E. about, or whatever. Prince told Sheila E. about Diddy, whatever. But the story was never true. None of it was true. It wasn't none of it at all. It was something that somebody just made up for clickbait. But a news organization published it like it was truth. And then all these people who have social media platforms calling themselves, sharing news, went on and repurposed and repopulated the internet with this rumor.
Yeah. And then they do the shorts, and then they do the blah, and then they do the reels, and next thing you know, people are believing what they're seeing without even really digging for the truth.
And then there's somebody who hears it, like, oh, here's that, oh, Sheila E. testifying Diddy trial. Well, they go to type those keywords in, Sheila E. testified Diddy trial. Well, all those fake articles come up. And so because the fake articles came up, it must be true.
Yeah.
Well, as usual, it must be interesting. Lala comes back, the comments start flying. So let's catch up on some comments here. They've been hanging for a bit. Matt Duffy says there is also a picture out there depicting 47 as a Jedi from Star Wars, but they gave him a red lightsaber, which is only wielded by Sith.
Yeah.
Who are the bad guys? And Matt Duffy says they aren't even hiding it.
No.
Dr. Chachi says to Matt Duffy, trying to use pop culture references that don't even they don't even understand, and he's just out there grinning and nodding like a toddler. And then the Walla Mala, good to hear from you. Clickbait equals more views equals more money. Dr. Chachi says Dr. Chachi says Americans tend not to have good sense, I fear.
Yeah.
Enlightened beings, yes, I'm good to hear that you're doing well. Enlightened beings also says, yes, sir, she is doing fine. And then Dr. Tachi says, yes, many kids look awkward. And then what's even
it's the truth. Well, she's at that awkward age. Girls know this. You get that awkward age, about that prepubescent age, about 8 years old. Between 8 and 13 is awkward years for girls.
Matt Duffy says what's even worse is that in Star Wars, the only way to get a red lightsaber is to bleed a normal saber crystal by pouring in all your evil and hatred into it. To Dr. Taffy.
Well, that lightsaber that he's using is called a Sharpie.
and then Matt Duffy,
baby.
Dr. Tachi says to Matt Duffy, yes, so many lessons can be learned from Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah.
And the Walla Mala says Fox worse than Swiper. And then Dr. Tachi says Fox News always used to send me internship opportunities for my students. I would tell them not to do it because Fox is too far right, and they would get a skewed view of what actual news should be.
I wish I could go to him and say, Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. for Dora the Explorer. Because, I mean, honestly, or Swiper, no signing on those executive orders, right?
Oh, boy.
But I have a feeling, okay, will we get past this? Yes.
Yeah.
Will we
but
heal
it's going to be a long time.
But before we end up, so any last thoughts, though? Actually, here's a thought I heard from, and I thought I mentioned, but things got crazy. A commentary saying that Joe Biden is a narcissist because he put himself before the country, because he did say that he was probably only going to run. He was going to run for one term, and he knew he wasn't well, and he still wanted to push forward. What do you think about that?
But see, that opinion is coming. The opinion is making the assumption that he always knew he had prostate cancer. Prostate cancer.
I don't think, but this commentary came that he wasn't mentally functioning 100% well. Like, people knew that there was a report that he said he saw, he couldn't recognize, what's the actor's name? Oh, can't remember, but an actor who's a big support of his. What's the guy's name? Can't remember off the, and he couldn't even recognize it. Someone he's knew for years couldn't even recognize him.
Was it like Robert Redford or something?
No, what's the guy's name? Can't remember. But regardless, but some people are saying, look, he knew that he wasn't well for a long time, like cognizant.
Let me tell you something. My grandfather is 90 years old. He knows exactly who I am when he sees me, but he will call me by one of my aunt's names without a doubt. And he always, and you know what? He always asks my daughter her name, and he knows my daughter's name. That's an age thing. I mean, honestly, if I was, I did the same thing. Probably would say I had dementia too, because I always call my daughter by my sister's name and my sister by my daughter's name because they have the same high pitched voice.
He does the coffee commercials with Danny DeVito. What was the guy's? Can't remember his name. It's gonna bug me. I'll remember after. So Dr. Tech says, I'm sorry. This opinion is coming from narcissist Matt Duffy. Thank you. George Clooney. Yes.
Have you seen George Clooney lately and all the Botox?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll end the conversation on that. We will end it with that. So as
just
always,
just one more thing though. I do see this will come to an end. How we fix it is going to be the challenge. And I think that honestly, the next Democrat who comes in to run can't be someone who's going to shy away from prosecutions.
Okay. Well, before we exit with the leads, a very quick poll. Excuse me. If you are watching this on the YouTube channel, can you give feedback on our conversation today? You have a choice of pushing from 1 to 5. 1, it was an absolutely terrible conversation. And then you only do this on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel. It's already pressed in. So the votes have already started, and 5 is off the chain or out of bounds, as I like to say. So if you could vote, if you up to it, and I see the votes coming in. So everyone who's voting has said it's a 5 out of 5. So we thank you for that. That is appreciated. All right. And before we let everyone go, I want to say especially to Lala for her coming back. The first show she's come back to, because she's a media star, by the way. She's one to play. So
I just like to talk.
You just like to share. Well, at least you haven't had any wardrobe malfunctions. We'll just leave it. Yes, that's another conversation itself. So we had that conversation before we went live. You ain't gonna hear that, folks. All right, so we want to give ladies their time. So first things up, how can we get a hold of Lala?
Very easy. I put it all on my website, which is www.laurakey.net. My real estate business is there. My merch store is there. I have a new course coming up for home buying with an absolutely wonderful workbook that will go with it. So please go ahead and subscribe to my real estate newsletter so that you can get updated on when that class is going to happen. But you can do that on my website.
Okay, hold on. Before we get to Aisha, you've got to give us the details of that so we can include that during our shows. And if you're up to it, we would love you to do a video promo of that too.
Totally.
So we can show it on the show. All right. Next up, Aisha K. Staggers.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at AK Staggers. On Medium, I'm Aisha K. Staggers.medium.com. Blue Sky, AK Staggers.bsky.social. You can read my latest piece titled How Does It End? A spoiler, How Does Democracy Survive? A preview at friendomedia.com, which goes to their Substack. And you can find my Substack, Aisha K. Staggers, and you can buy my book, The Infallible Fannie Freeman, at bn.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And myself, if you can get by all of them and maybe get down to me at the lower part of the totem pole, you can get a hold of me at my website, thedrvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the drvibeshow.com, X/Twitter at drvibeshow. Email address dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. You can also catch me on Substack at drvibe.substack.com/subscribe and Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. And always want to do the rundown. Girlfriends Chat. I'm going to make my producer go a little crazy here. So Girlfriends Chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones. The information is there on the screen and on any platforms you're watching this that I control. It's in the comments section. Also, Primetime Saturday Store is there on the screen and in your comments section. And join the Discord group. We have a lot of stuff we put on that doesn't get to it here. I'll hold off to it next week when we go a little bit longer. There's a number of things I got to ask the ladies about. Also, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button, and like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And finally, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I am a part of, email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And then finally, make it better. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good. Thank you, LaLa. You're back. Bye-bye.
To understand how afraid I am of any member of the rodent family that's down to squirrels and chipmunks. Okay? I cannot stand all members of the rodent family. Rabbits, bunnies, no. What else is going on that day? I mean, is there something we're supposed to be doing?
Why are you going there? Why are you going there? You know I'm going to ask you. It falls the same day as the inauguration of the new president.
The what? Excuse me? I'm sorry.
So in other words, Monday.
So onesies. Now, folks, don't ever think you're going to see us all on a show with onesies on. Don't do that.
You might see me. You might see me.
You'll see me and LaLa because we oftentimes wear ours.